One of the things as a historian and an educator that I often confront is the need for us to check some of the things that we say all the time, some of the rhetoric, and to ask ourselves, is this true? I hear things that are repeated decade after decade by brothers and sisters in the struggle. I disagree with the political rhetoric that's often said, you can't use the enemy's tools for liberation. Why? A tool in the hands of one person can be used for destruction and death. That same tool in the hands of a different person can be used for education and liberation. It depends on who's wielding the tool and what the intentionality is behind using this tool. If you take even Christianity, but even if you take the idea, of course, that is kind of a European colonial construct used to keep us in captivity, which is true. Christians, don't get mad, that's a fact. That's how it was used against us. But check this out. We took their Christianity, their rendition, and we Africanized it and we radicalized it. We've tweaked it and made what they thought was a tool of oppression, and we turned it into tools of liberation. Nat Turner, he gave sermons that appeared to be coming from the white Christian oppressive ethic, but had dual meaning for the enslaved Africans listening. In fact, he used the Bible to propel his ideas of a revolution on these plantations. It's very important that we understand that we don't assume that our people were just ignorant and just took what white people gave us and went with it. You can take the enemy's tools, the tools he's using to oppress you, and you can make those tools liberatory. Malcolm X said famously, the white man made a mistake when he let me read his history books. Why? In other words, those history books weren't meant to free us. They weren't meant to get us organized. They weren't meant to stimulate any liberation movement. But some of our people read those bullshit history books they gave us, and from that they saw what? Inconsistencies. So he took the tool the enemy used to oppress him and keep him ignorant, and he flips the script and takes that tool and makes it a liberation tool. So I want to challenge this. It's very important. I'm going to say the opposite of what you hear in political rhetoric. We must use the enemy's tools. What do I mean? Well, I'm a nationalist, so I believe that we constitute a nation. We have a distinct way of speaking, distinct forms of dance and dietary habits, distinct way that we look at the world, our own mores and norms. Some of us feel that we should go and we should create a nation in another place in the world, in another territory. Some of us feel we should do it right where we are in our cities. We should be a nation within a nation. But whatever construct you have in your mind for building a nation, think about it. What does a nation need? It needs military. Okay. Where are you going to get military training from? The closest existing military are the ones right in this country. Many of the people I know that formed African-centered or pro-black or new African militias, guess where they were trained? In the white man's military. Now, some people would say, wait, Agyei, you trying to say go join the white man's military so we can get training? What I'm saying is you should not be fighting, technically, any wars for the white man. That's for damn sure. However, if you need information and tools and know how to use those tools, you go to wherever you can. That's what a revolutionary does. People get caught up in this revolutionary concept, and they take it to mean that you're like some type of oddball. Revolutionaries aren't oddballs. They're regular people, family. They're just not the type of people that's going to sit around and complain about shit that they know they have the capability to address and confront. That's what makes the difference with a revolutionary. A revolutionary says, shit, if I got a fork and a knife and that's the only tool I got, that's the weapon I'm going to use if somebody running my house. I'm not going to use as an excuse not to fight. Oh, I don't have a weapon. In Cuba, Fidel's people, 20, 30 of them in the mountains of Cuba, going against an organized army with militarized weapons and formal training. These guys had nothing but pickaxes and hammers and stones. They didn't have no old guns. They didn't have formal weapons. What did they do? They used guerrilla warfare. They ambushed the enemy when he wasn't expecting them to, and they killed them and took their weapons. Yet another application of what I'm saying. They took the enemy's tools, literally, and used them to liberate themselves. Is anybody feeling what I'm saying? See, it's a difference when we say political rhetoric to fire people up. There's a difference between rhetoric and what's the reality. You may have to take their tools to fight for our liberation. So many people are afraid to do things they should be doing because they've been taught, oh, that's the enemy's thing. What else does a nation need? Don't we need to know the art and science of writing laws? Don't we need to know the art and science of governing a nation? Many of us are smart, intelligent, got experience in a lot of things, but how many of you govern a nation? How many of you have led a major, huge organization? So where do you get the knowledge of running a government from? You go to the city council, the community boards, the school boards right in your community. Why not? They're in your community. They exert power over all people. Why not join some of those things and learn? If nothing else, it doesn't mean you get caught up in the white man's thinking, family. You take the tool and you wield it. It's your intentionality. It's the consciousness with which you use a tool. It's the people for whom you use the tool. It's the objective for which you use the tool that makes the difference. But there'll be many times you got to pick up tools that you didn't make. If somebody comes in your house with a submachine gun, did you make the tool? You didn't make no damn submachine gun. They come in your house with one and all you got is a fork and a knife, and you manage through some martial arts to disarm that person. You're going to take their submachine gun and you're going to point it at them. You're using the enemy's tool for your liberation. So what I'm saying is true literally, and what I'm saying has truth metaphorically. We cannot afford to get so rigid in our ideology that we lose common political sense. Some of the greatest revolutionaries were what? Attorneys, doctors, accountants. They took this information. Queen is trying to sit down. She didn't want to interrupt the broadcast. Come sit down, babe. Yeah. Right? So Nelson Mandela was an attorney. Gandhi in the Indian tradition was an attorney. Right? These are people that studied what the enemy was doing. They tried to use these tools to help their people, and when they saw that those tools maybe were ineffective or didn't work well enough, then they went complete revolution in terms of military or armed insurrection. It's very important we understand. Chokwe Lumumba, vice president of the Republic of New Africa, I believe second vice president. Attorney for Sada Shakur. So it's very important that we don't get so rigid that we're unable to see things that if our minds were flexible and if we remember what our goal is to be free, self-determining, safe, not have artificial barriers and restrictions put in our lives. This means that we, and Malcolm said, by any means necessary. Did he not? So I think if we were to qualify the statement, I think he was saying by any practical, reasonable, effective means necessary. So that includes infiltration. When you're at war, you don't just have people fighting on the perimeter. You have people that are spies. You have people that infiltrate the enemy's ranks. They infiltrate so that they can bring information and intelligence back to the people to give them a sense of this is what they're doing, this is their capacity, these are the weapons they use, this is how they move, this is what they're planning, so that you can win. So you got to ask yourself, the people who say, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, ask them, what's your goal? What do you want for black people? Do you want to be right? Do you want to have marches and rallies and give great speeches, or do you want to be free? If you want to be free, your thinking is different. You see, it opens up a whole realm of tools and strategies that are not accessible to the person who's caught up in ideology. My goal is not to serve an ideology. My goal is not to win a debate. My goal is to be free. Something to think about when you go back to your homes, to your organizations. Maybe have some conversations. Look at the different things we say in terms of rhetoric and deconstruct them and say, is that true? We must use the enemy's tools sometimes to be free.